Welcome to the Rockhound Podcast, and we're going to be talking about rocks, surprise, and everything that does rock, like you. And we have a super rocking guest tonight on the show. And so, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to him to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Evan Rosedal. I represent a company called Top Knot Concepts, and I make a bunch of jewelry.
All right. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited to get into this with you. I think everybody out there knows what a jewelry lover I am, and so this is going to be so fun. And thank you all out there so much for joining us on the Rockhound Podcast. We would love to hear where you're tuning in from and where. So leave that in the comments, and we'll shout you out. I am Karen from Ozone Fine Art Adventures out here on the raining right now, but it was actually over 50 degrees earlier with the sun out, Oregon coast. And so, yay. We love the Pineapple Express or whatever that was. Let's get right on into the shouts so that we can start conversing about all the twisted wire wrapping yumminess to come. Let's see. We'd love to thank Kurt's Beard for attending last week's podcast. That was the big guest, and thank you so much, Kyle, for all the work you did for the editing on that. If you have not seen that podcast, you need to give that a watch. Yeah.
I have to pop in and say a lot of work and effort went into making that video, and I was a little sad that no one caught on right away. I'm like, oh man, this took so much work. I didn't go to bed till like almost 1 o'clock in the morning to make that to make sure that it blended almost seamlessly. So thank you for Karen's patience, for Kurt's patience, because our patience, I think, was tested a little bit when we were recording, because there's a lot of confusion going on.
Oh no, we had a complete mental meltdown at about 2.5 hours into recording, didn't we? Nobody could think anymore. So yeah, it was quite a time. Yeah.
It was a lot of work. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I'm gonna go behind my curtain now, so I will
And we did that for you kids. And so, yeah, if you haven't had a chance to see it, go check that out. It's an amazing time with Kurt's Beard. And also we were identifying rocks. And so there's some tasty tidbits of how to identify obsidian. And we covered chalcedony and agate and jasper and fossils. So if you're curious, definitely go check that out. Lisa enjoyed the Incredible Beard Show and the giggles. Mobile Outdoor had a feeling everyone's rock tips would come in handy this spring, which I know I'll be using some of them. Can't wait for that. Dustin Finds Rocks was having some serious beard envy last time and blazing some new trails. So I guess he's checking out some new spots. Can't wait to hear about that. Can they get any better than where he already finds stuff? Don't think so. CCV Gems was was totally feeling me about cleaning up your surroundings. I was talking about my jewelry bench and my studio that you're into here, and I'll bet you, Evan, you have this deal too, knowing that your bench probably gets just a tiny bit of chaos and clutter.
Yeah, I'm almost afraid for you to see my bench right now, honestly.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a mess right now, so
there's like happy chaos where the stuff's all right where you need it to be, and then there's that chaos where it's so crazy that you can't think. And that's that's what I was talking about last week. I couldn't even start a certain project because I seriously had to clean before I could even, it felt like the ick was on me.
Right.
It wasn't dirty.
I live in controlled chaos until it becomes too much, and then you got to clean everything, and then you start fresh.
Yeah, shaking the Etch-a-Sketch. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's what Mary Beth was feeling me on too. She's got her all of her metalsmith tools out and disorganized. So I know we are feeling a healthy sigh from a bunch of y'all out there. She also thought that Kurt looks a bunch like Keith urban. So without the beard. So thanks, Mary Beth. And he's not here to blush. Darn it. Sandmaker. He says that we make a consistently good show. Thank you so much for that. They're in Benson, Arizona right now. They skipped Tucson. So while everybody was out at the Tucson gem show taking pictures for me and showing me all the stuff that I was missing, they were out combing the desert though, and it had rained. So they said that there was a bunch of float going on where they were. How cool. So can't wait to see some folks. Yeah, shows and tells from that Sandmaker. So you know where to send them. And let's see, Michael was out smelting gold. And so, dude, hope you got lots. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Michael. And AL Gold Prospecting said that they had just started faceting. So woohoo. The more the merrier. Welcome to the crazy train and the dark side. So Blind Squirrel Rocks, Ivan Lopez, and all y'all in the chat being awesome. And all of you, of course, over there on the Discord, you know we love you. And thank you for the rocks and the coolness that you bring over there. Join us by checking out the email in the description, and we will send you an invite. Come on over, and you can do the shows and tells and the podcast banter all week long with all y'all.
Okay, so I'm doing a quick pause here in the podcast to kind of do a big shout out, a big thank you to someone here in the community that really means a lot to us, and especially to me, and that's Lisa. You all know her as Largent45. She's a big supporter of all the different channels, like podcasts, my channel. She did something absolutely outstanding. Like, there's not really enough words that I can describe how thankful I am that she did this. So, as you all know, I bought a sink, and with plans of eventually installing it. Well, it was a hodgepodge of a mess, kind of behind the washer and dryer. It was bad. I just didn't have time to do it. So, Lisa, being as nice and generous as she is, and wanting to see my dream come true of doing the rock thing full time. And some of you may know I'm doing it in phases, and right now I'm still in phase 1. But phase 2 is doing lapidary classes. Well, I couldn't quite do lapidary classes because I don't really have a sink in the garage, because I don't want to have people keep using the sink in the kitchen. So, again, Lisa, being as generous as she is, she paid to have her friend, who is a contractor, come and install the sink. Proper plummet, and also have it properly drained. So it's not just going to a bucket. So, everyone here in the podcast gets a sneak peek of something I have not posted to my channel yet. Because, Lisa, I'm going to be giving you credit where credit is due on my personal channel here in the near future. But, for everyone here on the podcast, a working sink. Look at that. That is a beautiful sight. It's actually nicer than the sink that we have in the kitchen. But, yeah. Again, thank you, Lisa. This is really nice of you, and I really couldn't have had this happen at a better time. So, again, thank you so much. So, let's get back into the podcast, and, yeah, I'll see you all here in chat.
And us. And so we're going to, I was long-winded for a shout. Sorry about that. Lots of housekeeping. And we're going to move on over to how was Evan's week? Let's hear about your week, Evan.
Well, my week was pretty good. I just got back from Tucson on Monday. So my week has mostly been unpacking everything and organizing things, going through everything I got, crying about how much money I spent and things like that.
Yeah. But it's so worth it. Did you enjoy the show?
Yeah. I did. It was a really good year this year, honestly. It was a lot of fun. It seems like everything's kind of getting back to normal now, and it seems like all the vendors are back, and so it was really good to see everybody again this year.
Oh, that is so good to hear. Awesome. And so you made a bunch of cool scores that you get to go through now?
Oh yeah, definitely got some different things this year. definitely a lot of things I'm really excited about. Putting into some jewelry pretty soon. Didn't really stick to my list, but hey, what's a list for if not to break it sometimes?
Yeah, and one thing that I used to notice about the show is that, yeah, of course you've got the stuff that you need, but you never know. Like, I hate to say the word trending because that's a bad word, but like, one year I went and like the Boulder opals were just stupid affordable, and then another year that I went, there were just like mounds of pearls like that felt like they were going
Yeah.
towards the ceiling, and so I depending on which show you hit or what kind of I guess economic trend is going on worldwide that brings a certain thing to you. Like I was there when I like saw Chara White first, and it was
Oh
like
yeah.
this totally like dude over in the corner, that spoke broken English, and I mean, I thought it was fake. And so anyways, like, so I blew my purse on Chara White, of course, like the first time you
Yeah.
see that. And so like you can't stick to the script.
No. I mean, half the fun of Tucson is the adventure. You always know where you kind of have your landmark vendors that you're gonna go see every year, but aside from that, the adventure's half the fun. So
Oh man, yeah. What would you say was like maybe your standout highlight this year?
ooh.
I know that's a totally like not fair question to ask because there's so much.
I mean, definitely kind of focused in on like a lot of higher end material this time. So like definitely got some really nice like fire agates, which I think were probably some of
Ooh.
my better scores. Some nice emeralds, tanzanites, all the good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like Tanzanite is a great example of something that like, when you see like the market fluxing and stuff like that, wow, okay, so here this is in it, like these things make a huge impact. And I know that everybody's going to
Yeah.
see your fire agate later in your one piece. So I cannot wait to see what happens with what you just got. That's
Oh
funny.
yeah, that piece definitely got me way more into using fire agates, so I'm definitely excited to play with them more.
I like not to belabor your week because I know I'm tangenting hard, but there's so much right there to unpack. But have you worked with the fire agate before?
Not a lot, just because I usually make more symmetrical stuff, and a lot of fire agates are usually way more amoeba shaped and oddly shaped and things like that. So I don't always end up finding ones that I like, because I feel like the ones that have, like the coolest fire and the coolest effects are the ones that kind of chase that whole edge, and they're more amoeba shaped than just like your basic like round tab or something like that. So I was kind of strayed away from them. But then when I got the one that we're gonna show later, it just looked so much like what it ended up as that I was just like, I had to do it. And I think now that kind of pushed me to move more towards things that aren't necessarily symmetrical, that are more asymmetrical or, weirdly shaped and things like that, because it definitely pushes my, abilities and makes me want to think outside the box. And it's not always a bad thing to do that. So,
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, that's we're so glad that you hopped out of the box for that piece.
yeah.
And talk about tantalizing the public right now. Like you have to wait for show and tells to see this, but it's going to be so worth it. And like as far as lapidary goes, do you actually do you work from rough, or do you mostly get prepared stones?
So mostly I've mostly just been using rough, just things that I've either accrued over the years, or now that since I've been living out here, just stuff I've been collecting since, from around the area here, just because it's, low budget to me. So it's less of an impact if I mess it up.
Heard that.
you know, but speaking of the char white, I actually do have a big slab of it sitting up on a shelf here that I picked up at the last Tucson last year, that I've been waiting to start cutting into. So
Oh yeah. How exciting. That's
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Looks like you have some nice specimens and whatnot behind you. So like this must be your rock room.
As I say, this is basically my studio space. This is just a bunch of like my collections, basically like quartz stuff on the bottom, fluorite, and then in like the second shelf, and then a bunch of stuff that I've collected from around the area here.
Nice. And
Some of my best pieces.
Where's the general area that you are broadcasting from?
So I am just outside of Telluride in like Southwest Colorado area.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Deep in the mountains.
Ah, that's awesome. Just got a jealous pang.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. And so I'm gonna just fill y'all in on my week really quick, and then we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty here with Evan. I've been faceting, and I had some orders come in, of course, for the Valentine holiday coming up. So I had some work that I had to do. I'm also in my studio, Evan. You can kind of see some of the stuff back there.
I was guessing, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got like a crazy roll top desk, right? That like has rocks on the top and tools inside. I got my little solder station right there. I love using stools. They're the perfect mobile studio when you have to move stuff around. It's a faceting machine right there. It's got a cover on it because I don't want to get all of the grit from working the metalsmith part. And and so I've been faceting, y'all know that, but what do you do once you've faceted the stones? Well, you got to set them. And so I I made my bed. Now I'm gonna have to sleep in it. So I put the cloak over the fastening machine and got the torches out, and I've been making some of those custom orders, and so you get to see that for the shows and tells this evening. And what I thought would be interesting is, since Evan has one style, and like I'm doing a little bit more of like what you'd see I guess when not wrapped. And so it'll be a kind of cool comparo, I think, to be able to see what he's up to, and then a comparison. And Kurt is sliding in, and he does some of the twisting as well. So we've got quite the jewelry extravaganza this evening, and the coast continues to be let's see, we're having the king tides, and we're having storms, and so the sand is moving, so people are finding some cool stuff. I've been seeing some more fossils being discovered in my immediate area, so I guess it's on. And this coming, depending on when you listen to this podcast, the 11th is our Fossil Fest at the Hatfield Science Center, the Marine Science Center on the Central Oregon coast. So if you're a fossil lover, and especially if you love the marine fossils, there's going to be experts there, not only telling you what you've got, but also with a bunch of ones to see, lay your eyes on it, and you're more likely to recognize it on the beach. So this is a good thing to do if you're into finding them, or if you just love them. And we're talking about our weeks, Kurt. And so how was your week?
My week's been a little crazy. It's been cold, crazy. Evan knows because he lives in Colorado as well. But yeah, today we went out on a hike, and when we were out, our flashlights died, so it took a while to get back to the vehicle. And then traffic and snowy weather trying to get back here. That's why I'm late. But it's been over the week. It's been good, just cold and waiting for it to warm up. Been doing some wire wrapping as well as some polishing on the flat lap. And yeah, that's pretty much sums up my week so far.
Very cool. And is this part of why you're cold?
Yeah. I miss my beard.
Yeah.
I knew you would.
Yeah.
Well, you
It's
mentioned that's when
growing
everybody
back.
had some beard envy, and yeah, it is growing back. It's like already part grown again.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So we've covered our weeks, and Kurt, who are you? So that everybody who's tuned in
I'm
knows.
Kurt with Rock.Hounding.Adventures out in Western Colorado.
All right. And then so let's get on with the meat of the podcast. We love to start off by asking our guest, Evan, how in the world did you get into this rock craziness in the first place?
Well, to be honest, I mean, when I was a kid, I was really into crystals and rocks and stuff, like a lot of kids are. And that basically just kind of graduated over the years. I honestly had a weird moment when I was vending at a show. I think it was actually at the Denver Gem Show, to be honest. And I kind of realized that it's like I'd actually been making jewelry for a lot longer than I thought I had, because I used to make those kind of like beaded, woven, like animal shaped looking things when you were a kid that you'd like hang on your backpack and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then like in like middle school, I was doing, just braided or like those little friendship bracelet things. And then high school, I started doing the macrame necklaces out of hemp and stuff like that. And then I had a buddy once I was out of high school who was a wire wrapper, and I commissioned a couple of pieces off of him. And after the second piece, I was like, you know what? I can do this. I'm definitely going to start doing this. And I mean, the rest is history at this point. It's like,
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so did you get into it because you delighted in the wearing of it, the way that the end product looked, because you like to play with the rocks, all the above? I mean, what was the big allure, because some people go in the direction more of lapidary, others in jewelry. What was the draw?
so I think for me, it was mainly I've always kind of been in the art world ever since I was a kid. I mean, I always kind of pretty much started pursuing being a full-time artist at a really young age. It was just a matter of what medium I was going to end up in, pretty much. And so like I got really into sculpture when I was going up through like middle school and stuff like that, and then kind of just fell off of that. But then once I kind of found wire, it was kind of a way to get back to like creating sculptures, I guess. But it was a way to kind of, incorporate the crystals that I was, that never, I never lost an interest in ever since I was a kid, and kind of brought a lot of that together. And then in my like late teens, I started getting into a lot of like fractal art and stuff like that. And so learning a lot about just like fractal geometry and things like that, I kind of tied in a lot of that sort of like theory into wire wrapping. And so it was basically what wire wrapping was more or less the culmination of like all of my interests and all of my artistic endeavors into one.
That's
much.
So great. Yeah, the perfect storm.
Yeah.
And so do you since okay, so this is a creative output for sure, and then of course it marries the love of gems and whatnot, the crystals. Do you create illustrations when you are in concept stage for your pieces, as many jewelry artists will, or do you like to free lance it kind of thing?
I love my sketchbook. It is my favorite thing in the world. I'm very much a planner, because it's like, for me, it's kind of a side note. I'm a huge fan of Nikola Tesla, and his autobiography was kind of just like this weird brain blast, eye-opening moment for me, where I kind of realized the way he thought, and I kind of had ties to certain ways I kind of process information in the way I build stuff. And he would basically, like, when he was building his engine, he basically built it in his head and would test it in his head and fix things that would go wrong in his head before he even built anything. And so I almost kind of take that approach where I mentally build it and then draw it, where I'm basically like building it on paper and then translate that into the physical product.
Awesome. Yeah. So a lot of the engineering and troubleshooting happens like pre-illustration, even like you're like, if I can visualize it, I can make it type thing.
Right.
Love it.
So a lot of my sketches are things that I've never really attempted. I'm kind of just like building it in my head, and I'm like, I can do this, right? You know, this will be fine. Like, so it usually works out. So.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Some of the jewelry artists that I know, I come from the art side too, although my grandfather and my mom were jewelry and rock people. And so like it was, I get it. But I also knew some jewelry people that would not do the illustration because it would take all of the wind out of their project. Does that make sense?
I could see that. I could see
you know,
that.
like once you realize it on paper, you're like, I did it. That's good enough.
I could definitely see that for some people, for sure. But
yeah,
although for me, it's cool to be able to like to draw something, and like if you can get it basically 1-to-1 in the final product, I feel like that's a really awesome accomplishment too. So
nice. Yeah. Like you're challenging yourself, like throwing down the
right. I imagined it, but can I build it?
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you for suffering all those questions. Kurt, do you have one?
Yeah. I've been following you a while on Facebook, and I've seen some pretty cool things you find out on like mind tellings and stuff. Whenever you're out rock hounding, what is the coolest thing that you've found and then taken and because I know you recently got into lapidary, taken and polished into some gemstones.
So I would say coolest thing, probably the fluorite that I was getting out of Silverton this summer.
Ooh.
It's this really cool like seafoam green color. There's some of it in the show and tell that'll come up later. But it's also fluorescent too.
Nice.
So it's really cool, and like it's hard to find like good pieces of rough that aren't really fractured, because a lot of it was in the tailings, and so a lot of it either got bleached in the sun or just got fractured from exposure and stuff like that. But I was able to at least cut a few good pieces out of it, and it's really cool. And it's just like these big seafoam green bubbles that glow blue when you hit them with a UV light. So that's probably the coolest thing that I've like found that I've cut so far.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's definitely the green fluorite. I find some that's more vivid green out near Grand Junction, but that stuff is really beautiful under the black light. Have you ever been out to that spot with a black light at night to hunt?
I have not. That would actually be pretty cool, but no, we have not done that, because I'm about 2 hours away from Silverton, and my buddy was the one that was driving. So right. Yeah. That's
really cool.
Yeah.
And what is hold on. I had a bunch of questions for you, but trying to catch back up after getting here. Let's see. What is the largest pendant that you've ever worked on?
Ooh.
I've seen some crazy ones that you've put out.
Yeah, no, I definitely love making the big ones. I would say the biggest one that I made was my 5-year wrap-iversary piece is what I call them. Kind of like my annual benchmark piece. My 5-year one, it was you'll probably remember it, but it's the big like watermelon tourmaline one that had like the spinner apparatus in the middle.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was honestly as big as my hand.
Wow.
It was huge.
So that is sounding like it's crossing over from jewelry to sculpture. Is there a hope to see some larger pieces that are actually sculpture expressions? Oh,
yes. So I actually do have a piece planned. Another one of my big inspirations is Carl Fabergé.
Oh yeah.
So I want to do a fully wire wrapped Fabergé egg
Oh,
Ooh, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, with all the mechanics, and yeah, so there'll be like a cool pendant on the inside. There's gonna be like a pendant that kind of like locks the leaves together. And then it'll be like the egg and then a cool stand for it and everything. And yeah, just gotta
wow.
find the time.
Oh yeah.
Right? Oh, but actually that's such a cool that's a great crossover piece, given that the Fabergé is all about the detail and all about like the hidden little nichey cool things that you get to explore and find. And so,
Yeah.
and that's definitely your jam.
Oh yeah.
That's what you do already from I've
Yeah,
seen a limited
absolutely.
amount of the body of your work, but yeah, you're expressing, like here's this cool gem here and over here, and oh, turn it over. And I mean, just speaking of fractals, you got the macro, which is a great expression. And then upon a closer observation, oh, reward. Oh, even closer. Oh, here's another reward, yeah, it's good on the micro and the macro level.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So lots of hidden treasures in there.
Yeah, cool. So I'm picturing, of course, my head is going, okay, so we need to get you like a welding kit, and you can like do, like those really big geode eggs or something like that. Like you could...
There you go.
Have you done any hot connections, or have you mostly stuck to the twisting?
I have only done cold connections. The only thing I have actually used any heat in at all is the pendant that's in the show and tell, and I literally just fused one little wire of argentium together just to make the channel set.
Wow. Okay. So is there
Yeah.
any temptation there, or does that kind of take you out of where you're like the nexus of your creativity is?
Oh no, I'm 100% headed that direction at this
Oh.
point. The only thing, I mean, I pretty much have half the equipment. My only kind of hindrance at this point is my studio setup isn't really set up for working with gas and torches and all that type of stuff yet, because I don't have any good ventilation. So that's kind of been the one thing that's been like stopping me from moving to that next step. But
And
very
for that,
soon,
we're happy for you, because yeah, those things are definitely things to take into
yeah,
account.
exactly.
And I can't tell
Because
you
I
how much.
basically my studio space is like a big long room.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I've got
Oh, sorry.
a tiny room. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically half my studio is actually our bedroom, so I can't be putting a bunch of bad stuff into the bedroom.
Ooh, yeah, even
Yeah.
better there. You need to be a man with a curtain as well. Like that
I do
might
have a
be.
curtain, but
There you go. Yeah, I can't believe how quickly, like, even just you're kicking up stuff when you're doing your sanding and polishing just is so thick grit that yeah, it does need containment. Although, I was actually just looking at some of the containment things, like the Fordham has like a really cool little unit for containment, and there's different ways of attacking that as well. I know that's more gadgets and more money to spend, but
yeah. That's kind of the thing that's keeping me in wire right now is it's low budget. So it's definitely a little bit easier to keep working without having to invest in a bunch of equipment at the moment. So
yeah, heard that. But I think that you're just gonna blast off, like,
that's the plan.
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
Your creativity levels there, and the more equipment you get, it's just gonna
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
What other so with wire wrapping, do you, and getting into lapidary, like what equipment have you collected for the lapidary purposes?
So for the lapidary stuff, I was in like a used lapidary equipment group on Facebook, and I linked up with a dude who he had an old, it's called a Phantom machine. Pretty old equipment that the company got bought out and then bought out again by another company type deal. So it's a 10-inch trim saw. It's got two vertical wheels and then a flat lap on the side too. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice combo.
So it's still a little hinky because it definitely needs a little bit of work. I don't know if anybody saw my little injury from me getting banged up by my machine the other day, but it's definitely
Ooh.
got a couple kinks in it still. So
Oh no. Well, yeah, when the machine starts attacking you, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Wow. And so I guess I'm not a rapper. And so how much equipment do you have to amass for that?
About
There
that.
it is. I love it.
That's about it, really.
And they're held by wire spools. That is so perfect.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's mostly just pliers and stuff. I've honestly been using the same pliers pretty much since I started for over 8.5 years now. So they last.
Oh yeah, check this out. I have my okay, so you know how needle nose pliers are like you would give up your index finger or maybe even your thumb for like a good pair of needle nose is like your right hand.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I have the same needle nose pliers that I bought. I think I bought them at Gem Show either in Tucson or in San Mateo. I think it was 30 years ago. Like those
Nice.
are yeah. And they're a little jinky at the very, very tips. I closed some things that probably shouldn't have been closed by them, so you get like take care of your tools and buy good ones and they will last you a lifetime, I guess is my point there. So
Well, that's
and
what
I'm in
files are
love with
for.
them. Yeah.
You just file them down and they'll be fine.
Yeah. I wonder if I can. I don't know. I did a bad, but I still use them. Yeah. So you just came back from Tucson. If you could travel anywhere in the world to go get either to find or to go acquire,
Oh boy.
yeah, the gem, where would you go? I know that's just
Well,
it's like trying to say your favorite music group or something.
well, I mean, I'm a huge Garnet nerd, so if we're gonna play like like the Alive or Dead thing, like definitely the Jeffrey mine up in asbestos, Canada, which you can't get into anymore, because of all
That
the
works.
asbestos, of course.
Oh yeah.
But aside from that, I would either say like West Africa or Pakistan, to be honest, because they have just so many amazing garnets in like every variety, and I would just be in heaven.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, going to Tucson's fun, but going to the actual marketplace must be so amazing, or to the mines. Yeah. Would want to
We
do
had
that.
plans. So we made plans with one of my vendor guys in Tucson in 2020 he was going to start like setting up like trips to Arusha and Tanzania in 2021, but that's when pretty much everything went on like hard shutdown, and so it hasn't really been picked up yet again, but hopefully we can get those going in the next few years.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be so worth it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the complete start to finish trip for something too. Seeing it
Well,
from
especially be able
the
to get
ground.
stuff like direct from those local miners too would just be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Like making it the most humane possible kind of situation.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right, Kurt, you got another one?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of people ask recently, like how to get into wire wrapping. So for anyone that's wanting to get into wire wrapping, what is some advice you would give to someone that's wanting to start?
I mean, to anyone just getting started, copper wire is always a good start. It's more affordable than having to buy, sterling silver or even gold. And even just getting, a basic set of pliers, even just from, like a craft store that would, literally the pliers I used were just from your basic, Michael's or Hobby Lobby, your type store, and they're pretty low budget to get into, and they've lasted me, almost 9 years now. So, I mean, getting, just some copper wire and getting some pliers. I mean, there are a lot of tutorials out there. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I know a couple guys that have like Patreon accounts and things like that. Something I've been meaning to get started, but again, just, have to get in the practice of starting to record. But really just start following people on social media and like watch their videos and like zoom in on their videos and just really try to like deconstruct what they did, because that's honestly how I learned basic techniques and things like that. And then it's just compiling all that year after year. And that's why I always kind of do my like anniversary benchmark pieces to kind of just throw everything I've learned at a piece to kind of like benchmark each year, so you can kind of like track your progress and see how you're building and how you're learning and where you can go from there. So, and really just experiment. Don't be afraid to try things. You never know what you're going to end up with.
Yep.
Great advice. Do you think that you'll be making any tutorials?
Yes.
Cool.
I've also been saying that for about 2 years now. But yeah.
I'm waiting.
I'm waiting as well.
No, I've got a bunch of cameras. I am basically ready to go. And I feel like I was saying, like if I'm going to transition into doing more of the fabricating stuff, I've helped a lot of anybody who's ever asked me to help them with anything or about a technique or how this, how that. I've always been ready to help them. And I feel like it'd be just a great way to kind of compile everything I've learned so that anybody else trying to get into wire wrapping can take it and run with it and do whatever they want to do with it.
I love that. That's awesome. Because a lot of people, especially that are very, very creative like yourself, some of them will keep it close to their self, like tucked in their jacket and not show the secrets and that sort of thing, just in case somebody's gonna, and I like the fact that you're like, no, share.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, the best way that we get inspired to try new things is by pushing the whole industry itself, because the more people are learning, the better people are getting, the more they're trying new things, which could inspire me to try something new myself. So why would I try to hold something back that could ultimately benefit me by somebody else taking what I've taught them and they can teach me something else?
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, like you'll see some pictures of his work if you haven't already seen his work, and you're going to go like, how is that even a wrap? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And that's where it's fun that you can press anything to a ceiling, and then somebody outdoes that, and that means, okay, the bar's higher for your next wrap-iversary, and like you're constantly taking the whole thing up.
Yeah,
very cool.
Every single time that I've looked at your pieces, like I hope that one day I'm somewhat close to your level, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But every time I look at one of your images, I'm just like, my head hurts. Like, how does he do that?
If it makes you feel better, my head hurt making it too. So
that is actually a good point. Like, how often do you throw your pieces across the room?
So especially for like those bigger builds, like I mean, obviously you have the plan in your head. And so that's kind of one of the cruxes about like building things beforehand, is that you've already built it in your head. So like, oh, I got this. But then little things unexpectedly come up, and it's like, as you keep building, it's like, I don't usually hate everything until it's about like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way done. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, this is working. Yeah, totally. Now it all makes sense. Now it looks good. But before then, you're just like, what is wrong with you? What is this? Like,
yeah, that's the dirty closet stage. And
yes, exactly.
Lots of stuff goes through that, like, whoa, that's ugly. Oh no, and I've spent a lot of time in possibly materials like, if you're talking about stones or the more precious metals and that sort of thing. And so, I can only imagine at some point it looks like a really bad hairdo and you're going like, why? Like, what is
and honestly,
it?
for certain projects, I will, like, for some of those ones, it might be a little bit, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I've never done this. I'll build little like individual test components that then I will just be like, okay, cool. now I got, like the muscle memory down. Now I can apply this to the actual project that I'm working on and not have to worry about like messing it up and then scrapping the whole project and having to restart the whole thing. So
yeah, that's a good tip right there, as far as, even folks that are beginners, if you hit a problem, you might find the solution to that one problem. There's that adage that it's like 10% inspiration and then the 90% perspiration, or problem solving and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. But what's interesting about that is that oftentimes in the problem solving, you discover a whole new skill.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's can be very, very worth it, as long as, you're not bleeding or
And sometimes you do, but sometimes you pay your blood sacrifice and you're good for the year then. So
yeah. Like physically, does it take a toll? Are there days where you have to put it down because your fingers just won't take it anymore?
not as much with the wire wrapping. I got into a lot of doing like the chainmail stuff kind of last year, and that doing the jump rings started to get to my hands a little bit. But aside from that, the wrapping, not so much. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is like work out, do your stretches. I mean, doing a few crunches and a few sit-ups isn't going to hurt anybody. It's like, it definitely helps because your body is your number one tool. If you're not feeling good, then you can't work. So
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. Yeah. I learned the Viking weave, and I love doing the Viking weave, but I noticed that I'll be all like, that I really like thin wire for it. And so, yeah. And so I'll be doing this.
mine crinkle.
Yeah. And I'll do it for a certain amount of time, and usually it's not the whole necklace. I have to quit because everything
Yeah.
I'm like, like stiff neck, stiff fingers, have
Yeah.
the kink is in the wrong direction. Everybody put your bench pin right here, so that you don't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a couple of those. They're a little tricky for sure.
Yeah, that's actually it's kind of the some of those things, and I make chain too, and chain just drives me absolutely nuts. It's not one of my favorite things to do, and so I get your chainmail feelings. And yeah, so that sort of thing actually dissuaded me from getting into any wrapping, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like, I'll just. Nah.
I actually had some chainmail people that were doing chainmail, and then I was saying, because as a wire wrapper, I was like, oh, I want to get into this. They were like, honestly, you're just going to be bored and your hands are going to hurt. And I was like, yeah, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's worth doing, but yeah, it can be like, I'm usually done with it for a while. Just with I don't even make mail. I just make chains. And I might have like a little several chains that I have to make for some projects that are, custom or something like that. Cause I don't even like taking orders for them. And
No, really?
that's how much I don't like making chains. Like, I think that when you get to a certain number in your lifetime, you're going like, yeah, I get it why people just order them.
My brain loves patterns. So I kind of just like fell hard with the chainmail stuff. Cause I was just like, oh, you do follow the pattern. Yes. It's like,
yeah. You might be good at faceting then, if you love like patterns and geometry.
that's what I'm saying. Very math, geometry, brain pattern. Yeah. So
yum. Yeah. That's some good fun. I would love to see we'd probably never see you again if you like faceted your own stones and then of course doing all the magnificent wrapping around them or whatever. You'd probably just go down the rabbit hole, and that would be that.
Yeah. So I'll be either in the dirt digging them, cutting stones, or
yeah.
Find me in this hole or that hole.
Yeah, it's a whole underground system, but yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Kurt, you got another question?
Let's see. I had one that came and then it disappeared. What? Is there anything about wire wrapping that you do not like that just drives you crazy?
Yes. I feel like wire definitely, at least, I mean, obviously this, it depends on the person and depends on the type of stuff you're making. But I feel like for me, it kind of has some limitations, simply just because of like wanting to move more into the fabricating stuff, because I feel like a lot of my designs would fit better with having the ability to, melt and bend and do the metal that way, versus like with wire, I feel like it's a little bit harder to get some of my, I guess more sculptural ideas down the right way. And they always end up being, that's why everything ends up being bigger because of the wire. Honestly, the wire kind of just like makes it bigger just because of the material, I'm like, I don't want to make everything huge. It's just the wire. Like,
that's interesting. Yeah. It'll be even more exciting to see what translates when you can go a little bit more micro, then like there's not as much air involved inside your, the constraint of your idea.
Exactly. That was my thought too. I'm like, I can get a lot more in a smaller package and be more satisfied with it. So
are you thinking fabrication, or do you think casting? Like, where do you want to land on that? Or please don't limit me.
Ultimately, like, I'm always open to everything. I feel like casting definitely has its value just because you can, do something once and then make 20 of them or whatever. But I also do like just the hand fabricating aspect of stuff and being able to, I'm into the whole process of stuff. And I feel like doing a casting, it would be kind of detached a little bit, because it's like you carve it and then you just cast it and you finish it up, which I feel like I'd probably still get into, and probably have like a line of stuff that, is cast pieces, because it doesn't hurt to have things that are in production. But then I would still like to do like one of one, like hand fabricated, custom alloys and all that type of stuff too. So
neat. Okay, so that's an interesting avenue right there. How many different kinds of metal do you like to work with right now? And are you limited by that?
So, I mean, right now I mostly just work with sterling silver and fine silver, and I'm pretty much just limited because gold is a lot of money.
Oh gosh. Yeah, and to wrap and like snip and stuff like.
Yeah, it's like $100 gets you about that much of wire in gold sometimes. So it's
wrap once and then
yeah, you get like a little accent coil and that's about it sometimes. So
yeah, I heard that. So what would you and so you're talking about alloys. Where's your imagination there as far as like where would you love to what kinds of metals would you love to be able to work with?
I mean, at this point, really just kind of would love to. I mean, like I was kind of saying previously about being really into like Carl Fabergé, that was a big thing that he kind of was into, was making custom alloys that would really fit the designs he was working with. So if he was doing, like a floral piece, he'd make a nice like green gold or something to go with that, or things that really fit the dynamic of what you're working with, and not just gold for gold's sake, but because it fits the aesthetic of the piece. And really, that was kind of his whole like theory on his work, was it's like he wasn't necessarily putting everything that was the most expensive, the most high end, the finest this, the finest that. It was simply just what lent itself the best to the design he was working with. And so being able to manipulate, different alloys and things like that to create, the intended thing without just being limited to what you already have, standard, I think is a really cool kind of just approach to building anything, really. So, and
who doesn't love alchemy? So
exactly, right. Fire, metal, let's do
it. Let's make something different. Yeah. Yes. How cool. Yeah, I'm just getting into doing some of that more melted stuff, and so yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Setting stuff on fire is so darn fun. Hey Kurt, do you yes. Do you have more questions, Kurt?
I do not right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was like prepared over the week, and then like today it happened, and yeah. So
zapped your brain.
Apologize.
Yeah, a great hike, but then a really quick drive home in treacherous snow will do that to a brain. Yeah. We heard you. Well, this would probably be a great time to get into the shows and tells, since we've heard so much about process and everything. Let's see it.
Yes.
Go for it. Let's where would you love to start with your shows and tells, Evan?
Oh, am I just busting these out?
You're busted.
Yeah.
So this is the
whoa
pendant Here, let me get
It's
some better,
even better live. This is so great.
some better light on this thing.
Wow.
That's
And
so cool.
Kyle will, send up the big pic too, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
everybody can see a good quality
But-
picture. But that is so three-dimensional. You can't get that from the picture. That's for sure. Oh
That's
so
my
cool.
gosh. Do you wear it
Full-sided.
like Flava Flav?
Oh yeah, and this like I made like a custom chain for it and everything with
Oh,
some
cool.
garnets set into it. So,
Yes,
but yeah,
you did.
it's pretty big when you wear it. So
Actually though, that's just great. Like you rock that. Like that works. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
everybody
like the
could
big
get away
ones.
with it, but yeah. So
yeah,
that
I
was
like the big stuff.
that was what we were talking about at the very top of the show, the fire agate. That's the palm of that piece is that fire agate that you were talking about, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
So-
a Deer Creek fire agate. I got it in a trade with a buddy who actually lives in Guatemala, and he wanted this really cool like double-sided moldavite piece, and he sent me that as part of the trade for the pendant. So, but it just looked like a palm ever since I saw it, and I was like, it's got to go into a hand. Like,
Gosh. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is fantastic. That is over the top, obviously. I think
Yeah.
everybody's like, the podcast just had a collective drop of the jaw. And so everybody pick up your jaws. There's more.
yeah. So that was my 8-year like anniversary piece.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then now a bunch of people are also going, what? Only 8 years? Ah, that's a
Goes by
lifetime of
fast, yeah.
work. And he started 8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So before
So-
you go on, wait, how long did that take you?
Yes.
Oh boy. So collectively with the chain, I think clocked in about like I think it was like 75 hours or something like
Oh,
that.
that's not
Wow.
as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow.
The chain was like half that time too, though. So
Wow. That's so impressive. Okay.
yeah,
That's great.
Mhm.
yeah. So here, let me. So this is some of that fluorite I was talking about,
Oh
Okay.
yeah, glowy. And that is such a seafoam color.
right?
That is.
Or like,
Yeah, I'm-
it's an iceberg or something. That's so good.
I literally just saw like the one face poking out of the ground, and I was like, "Please be a full crystal! Please be a full crystal! Please be a full crystal!" But it even like, let me this show you some of that blue.
Oh yeah. It's a good
Yep.
light. Even with the backlighting, you can still see. That is
Yeah.
so good. Right.
Don't leave
on.
home without it.
Nice. Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
bunch of UV fans here too.
Oh, I'm obsessed with anything that glows.
You
Yeah.
fit right in.
Yeah, so this is the cut version of that.
Wow. So we were talking about how it can be really, really like soft and flaky. So that held up very well.
Yeah, so there's like, I kind of joke about it, and I hope this is appropriate, but I say that fluorite has more cleavage than Salma Hayek.
Totally
This stuff
appropriate.
This stuff will break on you like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yes. I've had pieces
Yeah.
crumble in my hand and and then they were washed away by the tears. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So this was I was slightly disappointed because it wasn't what I thought it was, but it's, I don't know if you can see here, but it's this little pink stone.
I see pink. It looks like
Kinda hard to see.
a candy.
I did kind of like a little shield thing for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I thought that it was rhodochrosite because I was up at this mine in Silverton that had rhodochrosite, but sadly found out it was called Pyrox mangite instead.
Uh-huh.
Light bummer, but still cool.
Still definitely cool. And was that a soft stone as well, or was that harder?
No, so that one actually cut really nice, actually had some decent hardness to it. I didn't test it to get the actual hardness, but it was definitely more sturdy than like the fluorite and stuff like that. There's a lot of it was kind of has quartz in it too. So it's definitely in that range.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. That looked like it took a nice polish.
Oh yeah.
Good.
And then my first ever piece of
Ooh,
quartz, sceptered, double terminated. It's like so hard to see, but
nice.
it's
Yeah.
like literally the only piece of quartz complete that I found in almost 5 years living out here.
Wow. So would that
I hear
be
ya.
about normal, Kurt? Like, or
I'd probably say like my first quartz point was also that big.
Yeah.
I would like to get out and find some larger points.
like
I
one
feel
that's
like I gotta
size of a
dig in to
baby?
get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
those videos of, them like hauling out that like the
Yeah.
big, yeah. Need some of that in my life.
Oh yeah.
Not gonna find that at the beach.
Right.
Yeah. Unless it's like ocean tumbled.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be, I mean, that would be like amazing to come across, but at the same time, there would be like a total heartache because like, oh, at one time you were a beautiful, like you don't want a tumbled,
Yeah.
quartz point.
Yeah.
Honestly, the place that I found that one, it was really sad because I mean, a lot of really cool like milky quartz with like really cool structure on them and stuff, but like every piece was damaged. The termination was broken off.
Oh man.
That was a really sad day because I'm just like, ooh, quartz, oh, damaged and broken. Ooh, oh, no,
Can't handle this roller coaster. Let me off.
Yeah, especially at 13,000 feet. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Yeah, again, you're talking to sea level girl. I would be totally passing out.
yeah, my buddy was in the car. He wasn't feeling so hot. So,
That's some elevation. Wow.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like a good hunt. At least you got the one really good point.
Yeah.
So
It's my little buddy.
Are you are you ever gonna wrap that, or is that gonna stay the way it is?
Actually, I have a small little kind of selection of things that I have found while I was out digging that I was going to put into like a piece of just kind of like the local geology and stuff like that. So I find a lot of like dogtooth calcite.
Oh yeah. That is
And
like a
so,
total dog tooth.
yeah. So there's a mine. There's an old mine that's like 2 miles down the street from my house. And during the pandemic, I pretty much lived there because I didn't have a car. And so I would just walk, it was water back, water there, rocks back. So 2 miles there, 2 miles back with just a heavy bag and just trucking.
Nice.
And so mostly like you can get little azurite blueberries. Hard to see here. Let me show you.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So this was one of the best ones I ever found.
Whoa, now you're talking about some azurite.
I think
I've
remember
never
you
found it
posting
equal.
that.
I found this the first time I went to the mine 4.5 years ago, and I've never found another piece like it since.
You peaked too soon.
Such a tease.
You're like, this place is awesome. Yeah.
Seriously. But there's also this stuff, which it's hard to see, but I've still been unable to identify it.
Interesting. It's very,
At
very beautiful celadon green. So
at this point, we've pretty much narrowed it down to like either smithsonite or hemimorphite,
okay.
but I just don't know yet, and I haven't gotten it like tested to figure it out yet.
Wow.
And this was another cool one. This little button was off like a pair of overalls,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and it's over 110 years old.
Wow.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
it's from one of the old
That's
miners
really
from like
cool.
way back in the day.
Oh
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool artifacts.
So
to
eventually I'll
find.
probably be putting those things into a little, commemorative piece from the area. So
That'll be
That'd be cool.
fun to look forward to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there more?
I can pull out more if you guys want to see more.
Yeah.
Sure. Just bring the whole case over.
I know, right?
Pick it up.
So this was a really cool piece from the fluorite area. It's got this cool like quartz druzy
Oh yeah.
pocket running through all the fluorite.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
That was
There must have
definitely a
been
cool one.
some interesting noises when you found that.
Oh yeah, lots of interesting noises that day.
Yeah.
This is some of that dogtooth
Oh,
calcite
I
from
love
up
it.
there,
Ooh,
That
that's
is
awesome.
so quintessential. It's
right?
crazy.
That looks so
It's just
cool.
walls, just literally walls of dogtooth calcite down there.
Wow. And that's
so
glowy.
this is a cool one. It's hard to kind of get all the stuff, but it's this like red agate from Gunnison. And when I polished up a piece of it, it actually has these really cool, like yellow, like iridescent flecks in it, almost like a fire agate.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do
and
you
so
think
I've
it
been like,
is?
I don't know, because it looks kind of like a moss or plume agate, but then it's got these like little yellow flashes in it. And I just don't know what it is, but it's super cool. So I've been like, I only polished up like 2 pieces of it. But like here's another in the top of that, if you can see.
Oh, lovely piece.
Yeah. With a little
Yeah,
dinosaur bone on the bottom.
that's
Ah,
cool.
yeah, very
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, and so it's really cool. But I've been dying to cut more of it so I can actually see if it's got more of that flash in there.
Boy, that is so the fun of polishing is, getting to see the world inside.
Mhm.
And then I'm usually like, my nose is 2 millimeters away from it with the jeweler's loop, like going even farther inside.
Right?
Totally.
Some iridescent hematite quartz.
Oh yeah.
That's some
That's
beautiful.
some
really nice
great
like that.
druzy going on there.
I was
Yeah,
just about to say that.
good stuff.
Beautiful.
And this stuff, I don't like. It's definitely like some druzy, but it's like over something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
You've got some like really cool bot structure down there.
Yeah,
And who knows what was going on.
right.
Probably some really super cool hot spring a long, long time ago doing some neat
Yeah,
dance.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with like being around the Telluride area, it's a lot of like it's mostly in Telluride, it's mostly like metals and ores and things like that. So I don't really do a ton of digging like specifically in Telluride because I mean that's where I'm closest to. But Silverton seemed to be like the really good spot this year because it's a lot. It seems like Silverton is a lot more crystals as opposed to the ores and things like that. But yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
It is.
What else I got? Let me see.
Do you still have that
We're-
one?
We're
that-
raiding his collection.
Actually, these here. Actually, this was the first ever crystal I ever found moving out here.
Nice.
Just a little dog tooth,
Yeah,
cool.
but the firstliest.
right? And then these ones are cool because these like they're dog tooth, but they have these almost like nodules, like little pineapples or something on them.
Interesting.
I don't know if you
Oh.
can see it, but
Yeah, you totally
Yeah.
can. That's a
kinda
really
cool.
interesting texture. Yeah.
yeah,
Loving that. Yeah, all that has to be is opal now, and you'd have the pineapple opals.
right.
Noms.
That would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only like kind of downfall is like most of the stuff I find out here is just really soft, so it's not a lot of like jewelry grade material.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of been like, yay, it's awesome to collect, but it's hard to really put a lot of it like into jewelry. So that's kind of been the one thing where I'm like, I need to get into some actual good digs and some good pockets, or even just getting some fee digs or something like that, where I can go pay for a day and go get into some really good stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. But you kind of have to rationalize doing the thing and spending the time and all that. The gas.
yeah, some of those are expensive for those just for like a day. I mean, Hallelujah Junction, it's like $1,000 to $1,500 for a 1-day dig.
Wow.
Like you're
Yeah.
pulling out multiple like $1,000 crystals, but it's like
Yeah.
that's a lot of money just to put up for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Although, yeah, that is a really good point, is a lot of times you have to pay to play to get into some of the really amazing stuff. It's
Yeah.
already been claimed out and that sort of thing. And also, from another standpoint, for those of us that sell, it is appropriate when some of the places where you might otherwise find things you're not supposed to sell from there. And so I like paying to play
Yeah.
because it kind of keeps it, in the realm of thank you for having a claim. I'll pay to play. I'm going to take this and sell it. Everybody wins type thing.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah. Feels good.
There's this one place. It's not. I want to say it's more south from me and more east from you, Evan.
Okay.
Crested Butte. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
So I recently came across an article that talked about lapis lazuli. There's one place in Colorado in Crested Butte, where it's the highest gem quality of lapis that you can get comes from Colorado. But the mine is shut down, and I can't find any information on it. It would be really cool to get. I was looking at pictures of the lapis, and it's really vibrant. I mean, I'm not attracted to lapis often, but that lapis is so beautiful. It would be really cool. I'm wanting to get down to that area and maybe check the creek beds and stuff, and see if I can find a little.
Yeah, right.
All right. If you've got an inside scoop for Kurt, leave it in the comments or contact him if it's really super extra double inside.
The mine is called Blue Wrinkle Mine. Look into it. It's kind of a fascinating story how the guy that found it claimed it and stuff. But yeah,
that would definitely be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that stuff is
I like
beautiful.
anything blue, so
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got such a with all the Egyptian jewelry that's made out of it, it's got a super cool vibe as far as the inspiration that it could draw as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, well, Kurt, do you have some shows and tells? Or first, wait, are you finished, Evan? Have we?
Oh yeah.
Have we rated your?
Yeah, I can go for days if you want.
Okay, we'll have you back on then. Threat taken. We'll take it.
There you go.
Kurt, how about you? What's your show and tell for now?
Well, this past week I put out a video on cutting some of the stromatolite that I was finding, which it wasn't as beautiful. It's beautiful for the stromatolite itself. Let's see. I want to. Sorry, hold on. My brain's going like 1,000 miles an hour, and it's not coming out of my mouth right. So I cut some of the stromatolite, and I had a couple of people ask me if it polishes, and I wasn't really sure, so I went ahead and cut it and tried putting a polish on it, and it polished out really well. And you can see I don't have a flashlight, but you can see the layers of the bacteria building up, and it has some beautiful orange and yellowish kind of glow to it when you put the light, the UV light on it. And then also has that beautiful afterglow green effect. Yeah, so it's kind of a basic stone. It's a stromatolite in limestone, and there's some layers of travertine in there, which I was looking at the maps today, and I think I may have found the source where it is, but it's about a 20-mile hike back in that canyon. So may do that one day.
Or maybe 2 days.
Or 2 days.
Yeah.
Start early.
Weekend trip. And then other piece for show and tell. I want to say a few episodes ago, I showed a piece of Australian green opalite that I did a free form facet on the lap. So I went ahead. That was a gift for my nephew, and he wanted it wrapped, so I just wrapped it in copper wire. And hold on, let me grab a light. Not a strong light, just a little light. But let's see. Cal has a picture of it, but
nice.
It has a really beautiful green glow to it whenever it lights up.
It's screaming, even without really great lighting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I tried some new different style weaving, but so it turned out really nice. And it's nothing compared to the level you're at, Evan, but
that's a gorgeous vessel that
it's
made.
There you go. You can see the backlit glow.
That's awesome.
And then just the back of it just kind of
Nice.
circled out. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, you should be. And so is that flat back and then you kept the facets on the front?
Yes.
Sweet. And
Yeah.
did that make it easier or harder to wrap the way that you
Harder.
had it? Oh.
Because normally when you make the cabs,
Mhm.
the edges is rounded. So whenever you
Sure.
put that wire on there, it kind of bends inwards and helps kind of hold the stone in.
Yeah.
And having it faceted, it won't really bend the way you want it. So you have to snug it in there perfectly. And I thought about putting a design on the front of it to go across from the top to the bottom, but it just didn't look good. And so I just left a little loop there, and that little loop does a lot of pressure as to holding it in without chipping or cracking the stone. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering about that. So that was one of those like out of the box, had to figure out how that was going to work type of thing.
Yeah.
Huh?
Once I got it in there, I took it and just kind of rattled it just to see if it would budge. And it didn't budge. So I was like, okay, it's good.
You gotta do a little drop test. There you go.
Yeah.
Drop test without breaking any stones.
All over the carpet or something, you know.
Yeah. Not on a hard foot, but yeah.
Right on. Well, is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Super cool. Thank you so much. So being as that we were kind of doing this jewelry show, I thought it might be interesting. We've got 2 wrappers going on, and both ways of doing that are still fabrication. And so it's just cold connection, if you will. You're taking a material and you're creating either the jewelry piece itself, or you're creating a way of holding a stone. And so that's, it just is cold. My way is setting everything on fire. I'm just really into it. And so I actually, first clip that I sent Kyle was just me assessing a sunstone. And as you guys know, with the faceting, it's incredible that I can take the rough and create the gem that goes into the jewelry. And so on my thumb is actually a prototype. And we were just talking with Evan about how sometimes when you have an idea, it's a good idea to rough it out. And either you can do it in your mind, you can do it in your notebook in an illustration, or you might actually want to make an actual piece to work some of the stuff out. It's a very simple concept. I've got it right here. Although what I wanted to do, you can make prong setting, you can make claw setting, you can make a bezel setting, you can make an amalgam of a few of these different approaches. And like in the case of Kurt's piece that he just showed, that was kind of like making a bezel out of wire. And so the bezel is just the part of the metal that holds onto the stone on the sides. And then, you know, you can have a back or you don't have to have a back, just depending on how tight you can get that wire or your prongs or whatever it is that you're holding the thing in with. And so in the case of these rings, I was tube setting the faceted stones that I had created, because sunstones are of a hardness that might need to be a bit protected. They're not diamond hard, not even close. And so not necessarily recommended for a heavy use ring unless you're doing something to protect it. Well, a bezel will protect all the way around the outside. So none of the girdle and only, you know, the top part of your crown is actually going to be in a place where it could have impact, so it won't chip or whatever. And so I've got the cutting of the silver as part of this fabrication of a ring for me. I start from scratch. And so there's a picture of that. And then there's a picture, or a video rather, of the bench pin with a file and the gem and a tube that I create also out of the sheet metal. And so, you know, wind it around those pliers, solder it together, and you've got a tube, or you can buy tube, whichever way you want to do it. But I have to make it exactly fit an uncalibrated stone, one that I made. So like I have to make the tube, because it's not like I can just, you know, order 6mm unless I want to calibrate my stones, which at this time I'm not. And so I then, continue with the fire, making the ring from the piece of cut out silver. There's a picture of that. And then this process is like 4 or 5 different solders now at this point, creating the tube and creating the ring. At that time, it goes into the pickle. And as soon as I'm done with the podcast, there's a ring right there. I don't know if you can see it in my actual pickle juice, but no, it's actually acid in the acid. But after you've set sterling on fire, it'll have fire scale. And so you put it in acid. If you're using fine, then you don't pick up the scale. And an assortment of burrs and tools will take that tube that you saw, and I will make a seat for the gem. And oh my gosh, that's so, you can't see that at all, but Kyle has a picture. So you can kind of see that there's the tube and the gem set into it, but like it has to be so perfect. Like, so you're just going like, less than a millimeter, burr, see if it sits, burr, and that's on like a rotary tool. You're like grinding away little bits of metal and until it fits perfectly. And the whole time you're just holding your breath, because if you go too far, it doesn't work anymore. And if you don't go enough, it's not seating. And so it can be pretty tricky. And then the last picture, so the finished picture, Kyle. And then the last picture is of a prong setting. And so I did show this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but this is a larger sunstone, and the prongs are what are holding this bad boy in with this boulder opal. And you can see how, thank you. You can see how like this leaves that stone a bit more vulnerable. You can see how much of the stone is actually showing. And so that's why I tube set the other, is that on a necklace, like you don't have to protect the stone, like unless somebody is attacking you, you're probably not going to have, too many problems with things like abruptly hitting your stone and cracking it or something like that. And so you can have you can show more cleavage for your stones, right? And so I just wanted to kind of show some of the different ways of setting a stone, since we got to see something incredible with Evan and something incredible with Kurt, and different styles. And so those are some different styles of setting those faceted stones that I've been talking about making so much lately. And that's my show and tell.
Really quick, Theo's got show and tell too. We didn't really address it in the podcast, so a quick insert here of Theo's show and tell.
All right, guys, fossil hunt is over. Now we are waiting for food. Look at these piles of bones. It was a good day. It was a dang good day.
Thank you, Theo.
And so thank you, Evan, for yours, and thank you, Kurt, for yours. And
Thank you for yours.
thank you.
Thank you.
And we're moving on to the words of wisdom. So Evan, are you feeling wise this evening? Have you got something to share with us?
Oh, well, so, I mean, this is kind of just something that I've always kind of lived by. When I was 19, I moved to Tucson, kind of on a whim, basically, because I just didn't want to be in Chicago anymore. And I was like, it's time to leave. I had a buddy who was moving down there, stupidly chasing a girl. And and I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll go along. There's an art institute down there. I can go take classes down there. Why not? And I had a teacher, and he was my perspective professor, not like philosophical perspective, but like visual perspective. And he was just like this old desert hippie, super awesome dude. And one of the last days of class, he said this quote where he was like, "It's not normal to be normal." And that's something that always kind of like stuck with me ever since.
Love
And
it.
so that's kind of just like the way I've tried to, approach life. It's like what is normal, it's like don't approach everything just trying to do what you think is going to be the thing that's going to fit in, or the thing that everybody's just going to automatically approve of, or whatever. It's like, do you, because there is no normalcy. The reality is that you create your own reality. So don't let anything stop you from doing this.
Love it. Yes.
That's awesome.
Those were great words of advice for
Oh, yeah.
someone like young and experiencing Tucson.
Yes, exactly.
What a great town to live in, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it there too.
Yeah.
Kurt, have you got some whys for us?
I'll just say we've all of us have said it before, and when you're working on something that's kind of complex and it's not going the way you want it, take a break, a little breather, and come back to it. It'll make the biggest difference. Don't just keep trying, because it's going to keep messing up or going the wrong direction that you're wanting it to go. And don't throw it across the room.
I need to take that advice.
Just have a cushion on your wall as like a target.
There you go.
So you can hit the cushion.
There you go. A cushion with a little platform.
There you go. Cushion with a little basket to catch it in. When you
or get your rebound. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think that this is all in the same tone, because definitely inspired by our discussion a little bit earlier about if you can visualize it, you can do it. And so I think that it's a proven fact that if you believe in something, then it's more likely. If you believe you can do this thing, then it's so when you have that creative impulse, and if you start hatching that plan, make it in your head, know you can do it, and you're definitely hedging your bets to be able to express it. And I'm imagining that Evan was probably intimidated by some of his ideas that, for some of those rap-iversaries, like,
oh yeah.
my gosh. And so it's intimidating, but it's exciting. Do it. We always end up saying do it at some point during the podcast. So
you got to challenge yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. And so visualize it, and if it doesn't seem like it's ready to be born yet, then visualize it harder.
Yep.
And it'll keep it going until you've breathed some life into it enough that it can start manifesting in the material.
Yeah. Never give up. You got it.
You got this. Yeah. Right on. So, Evan, if people are searching, like, of course, I know that there's going to be some new fans from our typical listenership. I just already know that. So where do they find you on the interwebs?
So on Facebook, I'm just me, Evan Rosedahl, Rosdahl. But on everything else, I am Top Knot Concepts. I always kind of say, just put a lot of Chicago on it and you'll never forget it. Some Top Knot Concepts,
Top Knot, say it right. Yeah.
Exactly, say it right. Top Knot Concepts, But yeah, my website is topknotconcepts.com. And you can definitely check out all my available stuff. I've got tons of stuff right now to look at. So
you guys will be so tempted, and Valentine's Day is coming.
Yep.
Yes.
So
be prepared.
Go right over there. Not to be the temptress or anything, but
yes.
Yeah,
I can ship quick.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was totally drooling when I was over there. And what's really cool, to be totally honest, is that you've got a great range of prices. Mm-hmm. And so, you can see the stuff like, wow, okay. But then, hey, I can buy that.
Yes, there's something for everyone. So
gotta love it.
Yes.
Right on. So yeah, thank you so much, Evan, for coming on the show. And I really hope that you'll consider coming back and showing us more of your incredible creations and some more of that wonderful collection that you have.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me. I would love to come back. It was so much fun.
Cool. All right. And thank you all for watching all the way to the end. And so before you break off and go check out all of his stuff, remember to leave us a comment and I'll shout you out next week. Also, leave us an email that will not only get you an invite to the Discord if you'd like that, but you can attach some of your very favorite finds, and those will go into our viewer show and tell the next time that we have one of those rolling out, and that should be soon. As soon as that email box fills up, we'll go ahead and showcase your work, and so you can be the star of the show. And until then, you guys have great rock hunts and enjoy your rocks. And thank you so much for viewing, and have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Later.
Meow.